Alright boys, welcome back to another video. Lakers Daily here. I just got done watching the full press conference. Redick was introduced as the 29th head coach in franchise history. I wanted Redick more than any other candidate. Of course, Ty Lue, Mark Jackson, Mike Budenholzer. There were several other coaches that I thought would have been good fits here if the opportunity had presented itself. But Redick, to me, has a lot of upside. He's one of the highest intelligent basketball minds in the game. He just turned 40 years old, so he is very young. You don't really see coaches that young very often. I mean, as of right now, he's the same age as LeBron James. It's like just kind of ridiculous that this happened. But he's very disciplined. And that's something that I've known about him his entire career, even dating back to Duke during his final season there, where he truly took his game and work ethic to a different level. It's hard to find somebody in the basketball world that was as hard of a worker as Redick, that also knows the game. He's a very visual learner, as he said. And if you did watch the press conference, or you're just watching this video to try to get a summary of it, talked about everything that needed to be talked about. He didn't duck any questions. He answered everything truthfully. And he said that the Lakers are truly right there to being a championship contender. And this is how I feel exactly too. Yes, they were never going to beat the Nuggets. They were never going to beat the Timberwolves, right? OKC, probably they weren't going to beat them as well in a 7-game series. But this time around, the Lakers, they have a chance to actually construct the roster in a way that's going to win another championship. And it started with the coach, right? Bringing in somebody who's going to best utilize these players. Redick and LeBron James have a podcast, as you guys probably know, and they're both on the same page. They think the same way. And it's going to be awesome to see these guys go out there and to be able to educate everyone else on the team, because LeBron James might be the highest IQ basketball player the game has ever seen. Steve Nash comes to mind, Jason Kidd I think's up there, but LeBron James, I don't think I've seen a player with a high of an IQ as him. I remember when he was 18 years old making his debut. Was it against the Kings? It was against the Kings, right? Back in 2003. I mean, LeBron James looked like a seasoned veteran, looked like he was 29. And he goes out there and puts up an amazing game. And what does he say after a loss? He's like, I could have done a couple of things better. The dude had like 25 and 10, and he's like, this is ridiculous. And JJ, from what he said, he gave me a lot of optimism, because it doesn't seem the best fit, but when you actually listen to what he's saying and you realize that, okay, he might be able to make this work, because when you have a coach who is going to be able to communicate to his players and he's going to get them to buy in, I mean, why would you not buy into Redick? He has so much basketball IQ. And you know that he played 13 years in the league. He went to an NBA Finals. I feel like every team Redick was on got better. Like, for example, the Magic, remember a couple of the players got injured early on in his career, and then he ends up getting an opportunity. They go to the finals. You look at a team like the 76ers. That team was literally, Kawhi had that crazy little shot that went in. They were that close to going to the finals. I'm looking at him when he was with the Pelicans, was a good team. Zion, and what other team am I forgetting? He played with, I don't know why I can't remember, but I just feel like he's been around the league. I remember he was with the Mavs at one point, but just every team he went to, the Clippers, that's right. Yeah, when he was with the Clippers, that was another team that was a very good team. They just sort of fell short in the playoff. I think a lot of that was on Doc Rivers. But another thing is that was coached by some Hall of Fame coaches. Speaking of Doc Rivers, right? He was coached by, of course, Coach K, Duke. He was a Hall of Fame basketball coach, and that's going to help. He also was coached by Rick Carlisle, who I think is one of the better coaches in the league. So yes, he's never coached in the NBA, but he has all of the knowledge and the potential to be able to thrive. And for the Lakers, it was best for them to take a chance on a coach that has a ton of potential versus just bring in somebody because they've coached already, right? I think it's going to be a little bit of a slow start for but I do think that ultimately this is going to work out. I don't know if the Lakers are going to win a championship in 2025. I have no idea, but what I do know is that they are going to be able to build something for the future. I think they'll be able to build a team that's competitive for years to come. And right now they've got a 40-year-old LeBron James, or soon to be 40-year-old, whatever. And they've got Anthony Davis, who was able to stay healthy last season, which was great. He was dominant in the playoffs. Austin Reeves is on this roster. Of course, Rui Hachimura, who talked about, is on this roster. D'Angelo Russell, we're still kind of waiting to see what happens with him. Jackson Hayes, Taurean Prince, and Dinwiddie and Gabe Vincent. Overall, there's a lot to be done with this roster. I know was being kind of generous, saying that we're a couple of pieces away from winning a championship. I don't know about that. I'm looking at the bench is just not very good. The only guy off of the bench, like Taurean Prince, was the only guy in the entire playoffs in the first round against the Nuggets that was scoring. Dinwiddie, Vincent can't be trusted. Jackson Hayes, like, it's just not a good bench. Jared Vanderbilt and Christian Wood were pieces that were desperately needed. But it's just looking even at the starting lineup. There's just not a lot of size in there, right? D'Angelo Russell is 6'3". I'm looking at Austin Reeves, who's 6'5". Rui Hachimura, who's playing the 4, is 6'8". LeBron James and AD, they've got good size and length on them, but just really outside of those two guys, there's just not a lot of size and length and versatility on this roster. So the Lakers are going to have to get creative. I believe they have 3 first-round picks that are tradable that they're going to be getting, and it's just going to be the type of team that you have to understand that it's a process. You have to understand that it's going to take time. I know it's easy to say that JJ is hired by the Lakers, is championship or bust, which he's not. You're not wrong. The expectation, even JJ in his own words in the press conference, was it's championship or bust. But I think it's just unrealistic expectations. This roster, it was sort of put together to try to win in a way that it never stood a chance. You look at these other teams, they've got size, length, chemistry, they've been playing together for years. The Lakers just sort of patch things together. It's like in college football when you use the transfer portal and you try to just patch together something and it doesn't work. It's kind of like what the Lakers are doing. So I personally don't think the Lakers should get too aggressive to try to improve the roster. They definitely should make moves that are going to benefit them, obviously, but at the same time, you don't want to overdo this because you have to realize that LeBron James is getting older. I mean, I know he's still an amazing player. You can make the argument he was the best player in all of the first round. Like, he was that damn good. Anthony Davis is 31 years old, and he was able to stay healthy last season, which is great. But this is just a roster that it's going to be tough to build a championship around this. But JJ Redick, I feel like anybody can come in and elevate the team, then it's going to be him. And we also can't ignore that the Lakers did have a 10-plus point lead in every single game against the Nuggets. So if they had just been able to be a little bit more resilient and keep their foot on the gas, then they actually would have beat the defending champions. So at the same time, I'm saying this roster is not really constructed to win a championship. But on the flip side, obviously they went out there and they competed, like I said, with the defending champions. They gave them all they could handle. But a lot of that was on LeBron and AD. These guys were great. Outside of that, they didn't really get anything. I mean, when your bench has one player scoring in some of these games, and you're definitely in for a rude awakening. But I do like the outlook of the season. I think the Lakers will be better than they were last year. Will they win a championship is going to be the question, but as long as these players develop and the Lakers make good moves that sort of balance out the roster, I think that would be seen as a success. But we will see on Wednesday what the Lakers decide to do with that 17th overall pick. Will they draft Bronny James Jr., LeBron's son? Will they trade out of it to get a player to help them right away? Will they just stand pat and select? But I will say Rob Pelinka has made some bad decisions of late. He's made some bad draft picks, and this is going to be a huge pick for him, a huge decision to be able to improve this roster, because even though I said that the Lakers should focus on the future, that doesn't mean that they shouldn't bring in guys to help them win now, because at the end of the day, you don't want to waste LeBron James. You don't want to waste Anthony Davis, right? Because obviously the Lakers are not going to be moving on from those guys. I know there's been some speculation about LeBron end up, opting out and leaving. It's just not going to happen. Anthony Davis is not going to be traded. So the Lakers, they've got a lot of work to do, but as long as everyone realizes that and they're on the same page, then I have no problem with it whatsoever. And I'm definitely excited to see what happens because, right now, this is must-see TV. We've never seen a head coach in the NBA have a podcast. And unfortunately for us, JJ did say that he's going to be staying off of it, which sucks, but at the same time, it makes sense. You can't be running an NBA team like the Lakers as a coach and then having a podcast. So, but yeah, guys, I'm out. Later.